On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, we're going to preview the Week 14 game between the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. Can Tua Tagovailoa stay undefeated against the Jets in his NFL career? Plus, Tyreek discusses his usage specifically in the goal-to-go situation against Green Bay that he was not on the field for. Plus, ESPN, they give Achane and Tua Tagovailoa some props for some of their elite traits. We'll discuss that and so much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one. Friday roll call. Shout out to everyone in the chat on this episode, sponsored by BetUS, powered by BetUS. Shout out to Pro Special coming through. Arrakis, he says, we only begun to find Miami still making noise this year. Go Dolphins. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Knight, Jeff Premont, Dana, James Steele, Daniel Barry. Philip Morrow says, what's up, brother? 5 in a row. Let's go. Angel, are we playing to win or starting to retool? We're going to find out. Shout out to Nick, Bone, M Cord. Shout out to all of you in the chat already coming through. Smash that like button. Helps me big time, especially when, say, just like some of the players on the team, Dolphin fans are starting to check out, baby. So it means a lot when you come through and you smash that like button. All right. So it goes a long way. So let's talk about a few things here. And we're going to do a Jabroni of the week. We got everything. We got a lot to cover today. And let's start off with, I want to talk about a few things here. So let's start off and let's talk about keep it in-house right now. Dan Campbell. So yesterday, if you missed it, the Lions snuck out. What up, Jeff? The Lions snuck out a big win against the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay's house. Now, there's a few things here. First of all, listen, and I know people who watch me religiously or watch me a lot, they know I've talked about this before on this channel. You know how it kind of irks me how we always defer? Well, I went ahead and I started looking up deferral stats, and I could find complete stats on 2022 and 2023. And what I found isn't surprising at all, but makes us look so one-dimensional. I'll explain why. And this kind of leads into the Dan Campbell thing. So if you look at last season, Miami won the coin toss 11 times, and they deferred every time. If you look at 2022, McDaniel's first year as head coach in Miami, the Miami Dolphins won the coin toss 10 times, and they deferred every single time. And this is, listen, I get the whole desire. I get the whole want. I get the whole, they're thinking they need to have a chance to double dip by getting points at the end of the half and then coming out in the second half and double dipping. I get that. You know, you can have two straight drives if you play your cards correctly. But there's certain games and situations that call for you to take the ball and set the tone. And what did the Lions do yesterday? They set the tone with a 9+ minute drive that ended in a touchdown. And I had a bunch of, I kind of put these thoughts on X today and had to, they got it right. We got it 3 and out with the defense and then the muff punt. But you're just proving my point further when you say that, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said to someone today, if that sequence happens after we start the game off and score a touchdown, guess what? We now are getting the ball back with a chance to retake the lead. Why does that matter? This team, look at how they're built defensively. Look at McDaniel's ability as a play caller and how he uses personnel. This team is built to play ahead. This team is not built to play behind multiple scores to good teams. That's the reality of the situation. And before you knew it, you blinked, it was 14-0. And does the muff punt even happen if you set the tone and score? You go out and have a 9-minute drive and score a touchdown, that defense is going to be fired up like it was on the first drive, but the guys on special teams are going to be fired up too, and Malik Washington, who's returning the punt, is a little warm because he's already been out the field running routes. He's already got his blood pressure pumping. I understand the need to defer, but look at the stats I just told you. In 2022 and 2023, Mike McDaniel's first 2 years as a head coach, every time they won a toss, they deferred. And here's where the issue is. Eagles game last year. You got to get the ball and start off the tone. No, we deferred. Bills game. Important game near the end of the season. AFC East on the line. Win the coin toss. What do? You defer. I've been talking about this for like 2 years on this channel. This guy never defers. Ever. At all. But what did Dan Campbell do yesterday? I'm sorry, this guy always defers. He never not defers at all. But what did Dan Campbell do yesterday? I want to get the ball. I want to run the ball down their throat. I want to set the tone in their house and quiet their crowd down. Listen, you're playing bad teams. Defer all you want. Knock yourself out. Like, I don't know. You got to know when not to. And, you have to know when not to start off with the ball and when to start off the ball. And it seems like we just have no idea. Like, it's just the same thing every time. Literally. And it's not like they have a perfect record when they defer, might I add. But now Dolphin fans are going through some remorse today because they're all sad that Dan Campbell's in Detroit. Dan Campbell's in Detroit and they're all sad. Like, Dan Campbell was not ready to come. Yeah, they were in Detroit. I was speaking in the sense of like Green Bay facing Green Bay for the Dolphins. Detroit was at home yesterday. But that makes it even more sense. You're on the road. You're in Green Bay. You need the ball. Dan Campbell wasn't ready to take... Listen, I remember Dan Campbell, how he used to stand at the podium. Pause, legs spread wide at the podium, hands crossed. Like, I remember the guy even screamed alpha when he stood at a podium. So, yeah, I remember even as a fan back then, I mean, there was no social media, but I wanted to run through a wall for him. But he wasn't ready. If he didn't have those years under Sean Payton with the Saints, who's to say he'd even be the head coach of the Lions right now? You know, and he's got a good staff. Obviously, Ben Johnson. He's just got a good staff all around him as well. And again, everyone's calling his play last night, that fourth down call last night gutsy, where if they would have blown it, everyone would have called him an idiot. And we've seen Dan Campbell make the wrong call on fourth down and it cost the Lions before. It happened in the playoffs last year. And see, that's exactly what I think too, M-Cord. The same fans that are crying for Dan Campbell, man, they social media, they would have ran this guy out of here in no problem. Dan Campbell, we wouldn't have got the head coach that Dan Campbell is right now because he wouldn't have gone to New Orleans. So all these fans that just somehow forget, you know, what the deal was, it's crazy to me, you know. Listen, and I love Dan Campbell. I'd run through a wall for the guy back when he was our coach. But even I knew back then he wasn't ready. I don't know what else to say. But that leads me to another coach, because Omar Kelly tweeted out today that Mike McDaniel might be looking for a fourth defensive coordinator in 4 years, and all of a sudden everyone took that the wrong way. And we're like, oh, if he's looking for another coordinator, he's entering Flores territory. Well, first of all, Josh Boyer was forced on him year one. It was actually supposed to be Fangio out of the gate. That's what we wanted. But both Boyer and Crossman were forced on McDaniel in year one. And this is why I keep telling y'all, don't be surprised if Brandon Shore is the GM or a new GM comes in and they say, hey, you got to work well with Mike McDaniel because you want to give it at least another year. I mean, they got a history. Garfinkel and Ross got a history of doing this stuff. But I digress. You know, Boyer was forced on McDaniel, so that doesn't really count. Fangio and Weaver were really only McDaniel's calls, right? Boyer doesn't really count. And Fangio didn't want to be here anymore. And, you know, from things I've heard privately, some of the things he might have said might have been more right than we gave him credit for early on. That's number one. Number two, Weaver. People were taking this as if Weaver's going to be gone. Or no, they're talking about from the sense of Weaver getting a head coach gig. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Anthony Weaver gets a head coaching offer right away. I really don't. I think he's 2 or 3 years away from that. I think, here's people, you want to have a real conversation? Let's have the conversation. I think teams are going to look at how this defense performed, injuries or not, how this defense performed against good teams. You haven't given up. Now, I know special teams has played a part, or fumbles have played a part, but the fact of the matter is, since Tua's return, in your 3 losses against Arizona, Green Bay, and Buffalo, you've allowed 28 points or more. Against Green Bay, you allowed 20 missed tackles that led to 132 yards. Against Buffalo, you didn't have a stop for the final 41 and a half minutes. And I mean stop by like stopping them and not getting points. So stopping them for them to get a field goal doesn't count because you're still getting points. So I think people are still going to look at those holes and be like, I'm going to be honest with you. Weaver hasn't even proven anything as a defensive coordinator yet. We are 14 games deep into about to be 14 games deep into the season. Has the defense won us a game yet? You know, I don't think the defense has even won us a game yet. Especially since Tua's come back. It's either Tua's got to be perfect for us to stand a chance. So, Listen, I love Weaver. I think he will be a head coach, and I think he'll be a great DC. But he's still 2 or 3. It's the same reason why Frank Smith hasn't been offered a job. We had a historic offense at one point last season, but then it fell off a cliff. People could see the holes in the historic offense. Frank Smith didn't get offered a job. Darrell Beverell's been offered more positions since he's been here than Frank Smith has. I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, Weaver, even the bad teams, I'm telling you, if we had a backup quarterback against the Raiders, we lose that game. With the way Minshew and Bowers were eating us, I'll tell you, go even further. Even with 2 in the lineup, I won't say the Raiders would win, but if they had a running game, like a good running back, because they have the worst rushing attack, one of the worst, well, either the second worst or the worst rushing attack in the NFL in that game, like Zamir White and Amir Abdullah, nothing. But what I say, I'll have to say this: if they had a good rushing attack, that game would have been closer. So, yeah, I love Weaver. I love his potential as a DC. I think he will be a head coach one day, but there's no way he's getting a head coaching job over, I'd hire Steve Spagnuolo before I hired him. I'd hire Ben Johnson before I hired him. There's a bunch of guys you could look across the league, that I would hire before him. And I remember, what's funny is this brings me, speaking of hires and OCs and coordinators and stuff, I remember a couple years ago on this channel when I was telling people Ball Game had played with Eric Bieniemy, right? Ball Game knew Eric Bieniemy from back in the day. So everything I'd heard about Eric Bieniemy behind the scenes wasn't very positive. I remember back in the day saying, he's not going to be a good head coach. He's not even that good of a coordinator. If it wasn't for Mahomes and Reed and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, and I remember there was one guy in the chat. I forget what his name was, but I remember he even, he was a Patreon and everything, and he just claimed I was a racist and blah, blah, all because I didn't think Eric Bieniemy would make a good head coach. He even, this guy even left my Patreon. And on the Patreon, on the survey, on the exit survey, said that I was a racist because of what I said about Bieniemy. And funny enough, Eric Bieniemy just got fired as offensive coordinator from UCLA. So I don't look, you could tell Eric Bieniemy wasn't gonna be good. You could tell. And I'll look at Weaver, and I'll tell you this right now: the way Weaver conducts himself, the way Weaver, does get guys to believe in him. I do think Weaver, and I'll say this right now: I think year one Weaver as a DC is better with his personnel and a better play caller than McDaniel was in year one. So I think Weaver is going to be good. I think Weaver is going to be a good DC and eventually a head coach. But this talk that McDaniel might need to look for a new one because he'll be gone by year one, I don't buy into that at all. I think he'll still be I think he'll still be here next year. I think he needs more time to perfect his craft. All right. So, continuing on. All right. Let's get into my jabroni of the week. And Jets and Dolphin fans, come together right now. Here's the jabroni of the week. And, Jets and Dolphin fans that thought their teams were Super Bowl contenders. You know how close I was? But maybe I'll wait for the last game of the season to see how it both goes for both teams. You know how close I was to naming this the dysfunctional bowl? I'll just wait till the final week of the season when, both teams got nothing to play for. Jets and Dolphin fans that thought their teams were Super Bowl contenders, you are the jabroni of the week. I fall in this category. A lot of us fall in this category. We'll come together right now. All right? Come together right now. As one, unite, hold hands, dance across the world. All right? Dolphin fans, Jets fans, we have found similarity and solidarity. All right? Throw on Come Together by the Beatles and hold hands and let's take it on the chin that we are all jabronis of the week. It is what it is. Jabroni for life. I love it. I love it. Guys, this episode, it is sponsored by BetUS. Go over to betus.com right now. Use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. And you go over there and you put some money down. The Dolphins, they're favored by 6.5 against the spread over the Jets this week. And if you're a first-time user, BetUS will match your first 3 deposits by 150% using promo code YouTube150 up to $2,000. Some of the quickest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer service. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the channel. All right, let's get into it. We got a bunch to go over today, so let's start off with Tyreek Hill. He discussed not being used at the goal line today, lack of deep throws, etc., etc. So, Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill said on Friday that he spoke with coach Mike McDaniel about the staff's decision not to use him on 4 plays near the Packers' goal line in the fourth quarter of the Thanksgiving loss to Green Bay. Offensive coordinator Frank Smith said the Dolphins opted to use bigger-bodied players on those plays, though 5'8" rookie receiver Malik Washington was used over the 5'10" Hill, whose listed weight is the same as Washington's. As a teammate, you understand personnel and certain things coaches are looking for, Hill said on his reaction to not playing the snaps. But as an individual, as a competitor, it sucks because at the end of the day, if we don't score, I'm going to feel some kind of way. My mindset, the growth I've had in my career throughout the years, I'm a teammate now. I'm in a better space, and I understand what the coaches are exactly trying to do. The Dolphins failed to score on that drive, and Hill was summoned back to the sidelines after running on the field before one of the plays. Devon Achane was stuffed on 2nd and goal from the 1. Tua Tagovailoa threw incomplete on 3rd down and was sacked on 4th down. I have no bad blood, said Hill, of the staff's decision not to use him on those plays. I'm in great spirits regardless of whatever is going on. I did have a conversation with coach. It kind of helps me understand their point of view and exactly what they're trying to do. I understand it. Everything is about scheme. In that scenario, I just wasn't a part of it. It is what it is. We all have to learn from it as a group, not just the coaches, but also the players. How would a younger Hill have handled it being on the sideline in those situations? I would have been hot. I would have been cussing someone out on the sideline. I probably would have been on Twitter talking trash, saying, get me out of here. I feel right now I've got to be a great example for the young guys in the locker room. If I'm being very outspoken, if I'm being a diva about not getting the ball, about not being in the game, those guys are going to be a reflection of who I am and say to themselves, if Reed can do it, I can do it too. I don't want to bring that kind of negative attention inside our locker room. My mindset, the growth I've had in my career throughout the years, I'm a teammate now. I'm in a better space to understand what the coaches are exactly trying to do. The season isn't going the way we all planned, so why add any more drama to it? Asked if he would have been on the field in those situations in the past years, Hill said, yes, I have. I feel teams change, coaches change, schemes change. We all know how it goes. It's about trying to get a competitive advantage at the end of the day. Coach feels like if we went with heavier personnel, he would be able to throw a quick pass to whoever. When I went back and looked at it, I thought it was a great idea. We just had some guys kind of get caught in the trash, which is nobody's fault. We just have to be better as a unit. Smith's full explanation of removing Hill from the game. We're down inside the tight red zone, and once we got in there, we liked our heavier personnel groups, trying to invite a defense to run on. I don't know. We just didn't execute. Hill said his wrist, which has kept him out of several practices over the past month, feels the same as it has for weeks. I've been doing whatever I can to rest it, he said. recover the best way I can. The training staff here have been doing a great job of allowing me to take days when I need it to get a break from catching and blocking. Hill has been targeted on far fewer deep balls than his previous 2 years. That's one big reason why his receptions are down from 119 last season to 55 this season, and his receiving yards down from 1799 to 654. Hill said he's not troubled by that. If you look at the defense we play against, guys aren't allowing a deep shot to the Miami Dolphins, he said. Defenses are falling in love with playing cover 2 defense against us. Defenses don't care about nothing else. Don't care about the run game. They just want to stop 10 and 17. You got to do whatever the team needs to do in that moment. If that requires you to block 30 guys a game, you do it. Eventually, it's all going to turn. If we continue to have success that we've been having, Tua's been playing lights out, defenses are going to change. So, here's why I'm not a huge fan of this conversation they had, because, I don't know, Tyreek framed it as, oh, the younger Tyreek. But you basically just admitted that, see, if you are a younger, admitting that, oh, if I was a younger Tyreek Hill, I quote, I would have been hot, I would have been cussing someone out on the sideline, I probably would have been on Twitter talking trash saying, get me out of here. When you say that, you're kind of telling us what you really feel. Like, that's what bothers me about this quote. That's what bothers me about what he's saying. You're kind of telling us you're not happy. There's no other way to frame that. Like, you're literally telling us you are not happy. But you're just framing it as, oh, well, if I was younger, I just would have made a big deal about it. And then he goes on to say, this season going isn't the way we planned. I don't want to add any extra drama to it. I don't know. I don't know. Those answers are very, very, very open for interpretation. And the interpretation is not that great. Like, just admit you're not happy getting the ball, Reek, because we know that's what you're trying to tell us. Like, let me put it this way. If you can sit here and tell me that if you were younger, you'd have been cussing on the sideline, you would have been hot, you'd have been talking trash saying, get me out of here, but you've grown as a professional, what does that tell me? All you've done is you still feel the same way, you're just bottling it up. That's literally what that tells me. That when you say, well, I've grown as a professional, that's telling me, but if I was younger, before I grew, I would have been like this. You're just telling me you bottled that up. You're telling me you feel all those things, but you're just not showing them and you're just keeping them under wraps. That's what that tells me. So, to me, I don't know. That's how I interpret that. That's just me. We talked about it on the show, me and Neil, yesterday. We all knew Chubb would probably be gone after this year. I honestly think you could probably add Tyreek to that list. He'll probably be gone. I think what he's also realizing too, and what that kind of low-key screams to him on the goal line situation is, this team thinks they don't need me right now in the most critical moments. So, I don't know if he takes it or perceives it that way, but if I was a star wide receiver, that's how I'd see it. Out here holding his baby while he's sitting in Kansas City Chiefs pants, just like last week. So, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if we see him in a Dolphin uniform next year. I really don't. I'm going to be honest with you. Keep it $150. I don't know if we see it. And it'll be a tough pill to swallow because he's been such a dynamic player since he's been here. So it's sad to think about. The weather report. Let's get into week 14. This is what it looks like it's going to be. 75, 76. You're going to have humidity from 54 to 55%. Wind gusts up to 16 miles per hour. Going to have a low of about 67. You're going to have wind coming out of the northeast. So, it's going to be a little cloudy, 26 to 32% in cloud coverage today. On Sunday. So that is what you are going to be seeing from a weather report standpoint. Hey, man, go have fun, Dolphin fans, if you're going to the game this weekend. Enjoy them. Season hasn't gone the way we had hoped, but you're probably going to go see a dub. And, hey, once again, we will be one game away from 500. So, crazy how it seems like getting back to 500 is the goal when it should be playoffs. But, meh. But that's the weather report for this weekend's game. It's going to be decent weather. I mean, hey, out here in Canada right now, let me look. I mean, this is how jealous I am. It's going to be what, 76 it said there? Low of 67. So right now where I'm at, first of all, there's snow on the ground, and it's in the state where, if you know snow, where it's basically turning to ice. So yeah. So it's not fun. But right now it's 23 degrees Fahrenheit where I'm at. It's -5 Celsius, which is like 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So enjoy it, my Miami Dolphin fans. Shout out to the homie Sean Seipler. Shout out to Sean Seipler, sorry. He comes through, he donates $100. He says, keep your head up, bro. Go Fins, representing Sunday, bro. And starting next week, we are going to be bringing Clean the World a little bit over to the channel. So shout out to Sean. Guys, go check out Clean the World. Go check out what he's doing. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And Sean Seipler is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So, and he's doing great things for the world with Clean the World. So go check him out. Go show him some love. And if you can, go show some support to a great organization like Clean the World. All right. And, they do great stuff partnering with Global Soap Project. They do great stuff right now. So shout out to Sean. Thank you for showing love and supporting the channel. Sean Seipler is one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. The greatest people you ever meet. Shout out to him. All right. And and what I love about Sean is he ain't lying. He is going to be standing up and he is going to be chirping. If there is a Jets fan in his section this week, I feel sorry for you. Because Sean's coming for that throat. So shout out to Sean. All right. Let's keep it going. We got to get into my keys to victory. We got a ton to go over here. So let's get into the injury report for today. And guys, we are catching breaks. All right. So right now, Terron Armstead said he's doing everything to try and play. So he's questionable, even though he didn't practice all week. Bradley Chubb, I wouldn't be holding my breath for Bradley Chubb. It seems Chubb, Good, and Ferguson might not be activated until next week or after, so they won't be good to go. But Armstead, Chubb, Good, Mostert, Walker, Ferguson, Kohu are who's listed as questionable. McDaniel said today he's optimistic that Teron Armstead, Anthony Walker, and Kader Kohu will all play this weekend. And Fuller, all right, Kendall Fuller has officially cleared protocol. All right? So that means that Kendall Fuller is going to be out there. All right? Now, on the New York Jets side, CJ Mosley is out. Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall are listed as doubtful, and it's looking like they're not going to play. Now, I don't know how true this is, but there is a story going around X right now where one fan is claiming that he was at, here, I'll read you the exact tweet, but he saw Breece Hall at an orthopedic, at an orthopedic surgeon. All right, so I'll bring up the tweet so you guys can see exactly what the hell I'm talking about. We'll come back to the injury report. But if you look at this is someone on Reddit earlier today. They said, my friend who works at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center saw Breece Hall there this morning with lead ortho surgeon. Make of it what you wish, but he was seen there today getting an MRI. Won't speculate if this will result in him being on IR or missing the rest of the season, but it's definitely interesting. So, Breece Hall and Sauce Gardner has a hamstring injury. And Sauce Gardner video came out today, or yesterday, of Sauce Gardner practicing. He was pulling up and he did not look good. So, right there, it looks like they might be out without CJ Mosley, Sauce Gardner, and Breece Hall. So that is your injury report. That is the latest heading into week 14. Some interesting developments working out in the Miami Dolphins' favor, it seems. Armstead banged up. Oof, not good. Because you know what this tells us where Armstead's at right now? Is Armstead going to be healthy enough to finish this 5-game run? I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. All right, when you look at how these teams stack up. All right, so how they compare. The Dolphins, they have the 19th ranked offense. The Jets have the 31st ranked offense. And yes, that's with Aaron Rodgers. Passing offense, Jets are 23rd. They're averaging about 204 a game. Dolphins are 18th. They're averaging 217.8, but we know that is thanks to Tua being out. That would be way higher. Rushing offense, because right now with Tua, just so you guys know, that stat that is a team stat of 217.8. That is not a Tua stat. All right. So because if you look at Tua Tagovailoa and him right now this season, he's averaging 265.6 yards per game. So if that was a Tua stat, that would be about 50 yards higher. All right? And that's just what the deal is. And if you're wondering where that ranks, because I know people are going to be asking, where does that rank? That's 4th in the NFL. Only Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, and Geno Smith have a higher yards per game average than Tua Tagovailoa. They're all Geno's 270.1, Russell's 271.0, and Joe Burrow's 278.1. Tua's 265.6. So yeah, that ain't a Tua stat. That's a team stat. Rushing offense, Dolphins are 22nd. Jets are 29th, far cry from what that rushing offense was last year. Scoring offense, Dolphins 24th. They're averaging about 19.3 yards per game. Again, that's a team stat because remember, we were the worst in the NFL when Tua was out. We were averaging like 9 or 10 points a game when Tua was out. The Jets, they're 26th. They're averaging about 18.8 points per game. Sacks allowed, Dolphins have allowed 32, which is 19th. Jets have allowed 28, which is 13th. Third down offense, I mean, it's about the only good thing the Jets do. They convert at 39.6%. Look at the Dolphins. They dropped from like a top third down offense in the NFL to now they're at 11. They're 40.6. Total defense, though, the Dolphins are 7th. The Jets are 3rd. The Jets have the number 2 pass defense. They're allowing about 174.9 yards per game. The Dolphins, they have the 9th pass defense. They're allowing about 203.9 yards per game. Rushing defense, the Dolphins are 9th, 107.5. The Jets, they're allowing about 126.3 yards per game. That's 20th. Scoring defense, Dolphins are 14th, about 22.2 points per game. While scoring defense for the Jets, it's 22.3 points per game, so it's right there. Basically similar and identical. Sacks, the Jets are 5th. They have 37. Dolphins, they're 29th. They only have 21. Third down defense, Dolphins have the 7th best third down defense in the NFL, 34.5%. The Jets, they have the 15th best. They're allowing about a 37.4% conversion clip. Takeaways as a defense, Dolphins have 11, which is 22nd. Jets only have 10, which is 26th. So almost identical there. And then giveaways, both have 13, which is tied for 10th in the NFL right now. So that's how the two teams stack up offensively. Really, the only good thing they do is success on third down. That's it. It's literally it. The Jets are a simple team, huh? All right, let's get in depth and let's break down my keys to victory because I got some good ones this week. All right, offensive keys to victory. Number 1, it is simple. It is easy. Let Tua cook. All right? Just let him cook, baby. Just let him do his thing. Just let him do his thing. And this is what I mean by that. Since his return, Tua has 1,642 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 77 completion percentage, and a 116.3 passer rating. Sauce Gardner has a hamstring injury and may not play. The Jets have the 2nd best pass defense, allowing about 174.9 yards per game. But guess what? They allowed 272 passing yards. I'm not including sack yardage lost. They allowed 272 passing yards to Anthony Richardson. They allowed 266 to Kyler Murray. They allowed 264 to Russell Wilson. All of which those guys aren't passers. They're not the same passer Tua is, or they don't have the weapons Tua does. Listen, throw Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson out the window. If Anthony Richardson can put up 266 against the Jets, Tua should be able to put up 400. Let Tua cook, baby. Especially with no sauce. Let Tua cook. I don't know what else to say. Number 2, use this week to rebalance the offense. What do I mean by this? The Jets are 20th against the run, allowing about 126.3 yards per game on the ground. Take advantage of it and return to the balanced offense you were a few weeks ago. The offensive line needs to find a way to win in the trenches and get better push in the run blocking department. Miami, you want to hear a crazy stat? Miami is yet to have a 100-yard rusher in a game, as Achane has come the closest this year. In week 8, he had 97 yards, and then earlier in the year, he had 96. But you also haven't had 100-plus yards collectively as a rushing unit since week 8 against Buffalo, when Miami had 149 yards. They've had 67 against the Rams, 67 against the Raiders, 65 against the Patriots, and 39 against the Packers. You need the run game to stand a chance in these final 5 weeks. This is your opportunity to find balance with the run game. This is your chance right here. Number 3, protection needs to step up. Miami allowed 5 sacks against Green Bay, which was their most allowed in a game all season. As well as they allowed 16 pressures. That was also their highest allowed all season. The New York Jets defense is averaging 18.25 pressures a game. Guys, they had 33 pressures in week 9 against Houston. 33 in one game. Quinnen Williams has 44 of their pressures. Will McDonald has 45. Talking about 89 of their pressures have come, and they have about 219. They have 219 pressures, and 89 of them have come from 2 players alone, Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald. The Jets have the 5th most sacks on the year in the NFL with 37. 10 from McDonald, and 6.5 of those from Quinnen Williams. So your protection needs to step up. You got to let Tua cook. You got to use this week to rebalance the offense, and your protection needs to be far better than it was last week. Because they got guys who are going to get pressure, and they got guys who can sack the quarterback. And guess what, Liam and Robert? Quinnen can wreak havoc and create pressure and disruption from the interior. So you boys better be on your P's and Q's. Just saying. I am just saying, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Continuing on. Let's get into our defensive keys for this week. You got to wreak havoc on Rodgers. Rodgers hasn't thrown for 200 plus yards since October 31st against the Texans. He's been sacked 28 times and has been pressured on 121 dropbacks, which is about 26.5% of his dropbacks, and his completion percentage drops from 68.1% when he's kept clean to 41.4% when he's kept clean. He isn't making plays or scoring touchdowns with his legs like he used to. And here's an interesting stat for you. His 1.9 interception percentage is the second highest he's had since 2017. So right now, more of his throws are turning into interceptions. He isn't the creative genius he was outside of structure. And even with Garrett Wilson, even with Devontae Adams, even with these weapons, this guy hasn't thrown for over 200 yards since the end of October, since Halloween. You better make it a nightmare for this guy. And now Kendall Fuller is back and we won't be relying on Storm Duck. Number 2 here is Sealer, and this kind of leads into that. Well, the first one, Sealer and company need to dominate the trenches. After being pushed around last week and creating almost no pressure issues outside of the first drive against Green Bay, it's time for the Miami defensive front to get back to work with a chip on their shoulder. The New York Jets have a 56 pass block win rate. That's 25th in the NFL. And they have a 68% run block win rate. That's 27th in the NFL. Olu Fashan, who's only sacked this season, was allowed at left tackle where he'll be this game. And he's only started 3 games there because Tyron Smith went down after starting at right tackle. Fashan, who has allowed 16 pressures and 5 of them have come from the left side. Elijah Vera Tucker's clearly hurt, and so is Morgan Moses. Meaning the whole right side of their line, if these guys play, may be compromised on Sunday. They're hurt, they're banged up. This is a chance for Sealer, Campbell, Chop to make some noise in stopping the run and rushing the passer. And I'll do even one better against the run game. Breece Hall only has 37 rushing yards on 13 attempts with 0 touchdowns in his last 2 games against Miami. And please don't let Braylon Allen break out against you. But you've been able to shut down Breece Hall the last 2 games. 37 rushing yards on 13 attempts, no touchdowns. He might not even be playing this week, so now you got Braylon Allen. Don't let Braylon Allen break out. And number 3, the tackling needs to be cleaned up, and it better be cleaned up. Miami allowed 174 yards after the catch and 132 yards off of 20 missed tackles last week. Kendall Fuller's back, so Duck won't be picked on. But if you whiff on Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, or Braylon Allen coming out of the backfield, you'll pay for it with big plays. Let up. You need to handle your business. You need to wrap well, and you need to take these guys down in open space, especially in one-on-one situations. No excuses. I ain't trying to hear it. So wreak havoc on Rodgers. Siler and company need to dominate the trenches in the run game and the pass game, and tackling better be cleaned up. Unbelievable. Hallie D. Berry, hey man, hope you had a good day. I think this whole season falls on Chris Grier. Mike's play calling hasn't been good, but he's learning head coach. He's gotten better, but this O-line will be our end. I agree. This is why I've been saying since things went wrong that I think Grier is the one that, Greer's the one that falls on the sword. Scotty, McMorris over Poyer. I 110% agree. But you got to start giving him reps. This is the week. Start giving him reps. Get him massaged in there, Here's my matchup to watch. It's the Dolphins defense against Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like I said, Aaron hasn't thrown for over 200 yards since October 31st. He's facing the number 9 passing defense. Listen, if they didn't allow 174 yards after the catch, Jordan Love only had 100 pure passing yards last week. Would Jordan Love even have broke 200 last week? And they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And Kendall Fuller's back. The pass rush is going to have a chip on their shoulder because of how they got shut down minus the first drive last week. You can make it a really long day on the gridiron and on social media for Jets and their fans if this defense is a nightmare for Aaron Rodgers. Let the defense cook, and Tua will take care of business offensively. I ain't worried. They could be fully healthy. I ain't worried. This guy owns them. Waddle owns Sauce. I mean, even when he doesn't get the ball, he's turning Sauce inside out with his route running ability. I'm not worried at all. K-Jax says, any details on Chubb? From what we understand, Chubb, Ferguson, and Good could be activated next week. They're not going to be back this week. So that's my matchup to watch. My score prediction, I got the Dolphins winning this. I think we score 30 plus. So I'll take the Dolphins 34-16. I think they handle business. I think they whoop that ass. They have to. I mean, if you don't win and you don't handle your business, Monday morning something's happening. Either Greer's getting fired or stepping down, or something's happening to the coaching staff. There's just no way you can go, because I've said this, right? If you lose to the Jets, you've already lost to Arizona, Buffalo, and Green Bay since Tua came back. Your whole excuse of the season is going to be, well, if we had Tua. Well, you have Tua. If you go and lose because special teams falls apart, or the defense can't stop a nosebleed, or McDaniel is screwing up personnel usage, or Tua or someone is turning the ball over all the time, someone's going to pay the piper, because that excuse won't hold weight if you lose to the Jets. So that's how I view it. Interesting thing here, posted by Chris Kaufman from 3 yards per carry today. We've talked about it. Look at the Dolphins on third. This is on 1 yard to go situations. Look at this. The Dolphins have the lowest first down percentage, 45 on 1 yard to go or less situations. The Dolphins have a 45.4 conversion percentage. How brutal is that? Like, wow. I mean, we knew this was the issue, but when you really see the data come out to you, holy jeez. The Dolphins are the worst short yardage offense from 2022 to 2024 on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. Like, that's crazy. And shout out to Sean. Shout out to Chris, sorry, because he even killed the narrative. He said, yo, you can't blame this on not having a mobile quarterback, because LA is number 1 and they've ran like 4 sneaks with Stafford, so it ain't Stafford. That's just crazy when you put it into perspective. Like, man, we knew it was ugly, but that is ugly. Like, that is some ugly, ugly stuff. Man. And then when you look at how we've done this the last couple of weeks, so the Dolphins, they remain in 7th in pass protection ratings when you factor in PFF, Sports Info Solution, and ESPN, right? So this is using PFF grades, Sports Info Solutions, and ESPN's pass block win rate. The Dolphins are still sitting at 7th. You look at the Jets, they're 18th, so they're like middle of the pack. You know, when we were talking about success rates and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, and hey, it is what it is. This Dolphins offensive line, I mean, you know, let's be honest, it could be better. You know, it could be 110% better. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I mean, I just don't. I don't know what to say anymore. You know, are they ever going to fix it? I mean, this team's probably going to turn around and offer a freaking extension to. They're probably going to offer an extension to Liam Eichenberg. Who are we lying to? Like, really, who are we lying to? You know? Let's not lie to ourselves. So, we know it's coming down the pipeline. We know it's coming down the pipeline. We know that's the deal. So, it is what it is. Yeah. Anyways. And then, finally here, one thing I wanted to show you, actually 2 things I wanted to show you guys. When you look at this new ESPN article out there, look at the props they gave Tua and Achane. So ESPN, they came out with an article about best NFL players at 102 skills. And this was the article they had here. So with the best touch and timing at quarterback, they had Tua Tagovailoa, a rhythm thrower. Tagovailoa delivers the ball with both pace and touch. Since returning from concussion in Week 8, Tagovailoa has completed 77.3% of his throws. Has been off target only 8% of the time. Both numbers are best in the league over that stretch. Quickest release, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua has the fastest average time to pass at 2.41 seconds. Sees it fast and uses sudden release to get the ball out. So there's what he got. When you look at Devon Achane, he was named the best receiving back. With Christian McCaffrey limited to only 3 games, Achane moves in here as the top receiving back. Achane has 57 receptions for 429 yards, 6 touchdowns. His six touchdowns catches lead all running backs. He can win as a scheme target in Mike McDaniel's offense, getting loose on screens or using his speed to create explosiveness. What's interesting here is when you get to the receivers, right? When you get to now we get into the receivers here, right? Best route runner, et cetera, et cetera. So you get into the receivers. Look at that. What do you notice? Top in motion patch catcher is Tyreek Hill. They don't name him. Look at this. He's no longer. They're not labeling him best after the catch. They're not naming him the best at getting open. I mean, they're not naming him the most sudden or the most elusive or the most explosive anymore. Kind of crazy. Obviously, when they get into offensive line, do not expect to see a lot of Chiefs all over the place. Don't expect to see any Dolphins. And Tyreek Hill, his listing there as the top in-motion receiver, that is the last time you would see a Dolphin on that list. So Tua, Devon Achane, and Tyreek get some props from ESPN. I mean, hey, Tua named with the quickest release, obviously, which we didn't need anyone to tell us that, as well as best touch and timing. Achane named the best receiving back in the NFL. And then the top in-motion pass catcher is Tyreek Hill. I mean, I guess, I guess. And then, we haven't done this in a while, so I figured we'd do this. When you look at efficiency standpoint, and you look at right now, Tua is the best and most efficient quarterback in the second half, and he's creating as much EPA per play in the pocket as Josh Allen is creating, but Josh Allen's doing it outside the pocket. When you look at an efficiency standpoint, and you look at charted versus production-based measures of plays, Tua, his PFF grade, obviously, there's a bunch of guys ahead of him. But when you look at EPA per play right now for Tua, there's only 3 guys ahead of Tua in EPA per play. And that's Jared Goff, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. Right? Like when you look at EPA per play, Tua Tagovailoa is 4th best in the NFL. It's his PFF grade that's got him so far over to the left on this chart. And on this channel, hey, we show them, but you guys already know exactly how I feel when it comes to PFF grades. I mean, unless it matches your eye test, I don't give it much thought at all. Another interesting thing too today, guys, is looking at this Jets game. If you look at Tua Tagovailoa's deep throw rate against too high safety coverage by season, it's about 2.4% throws of 20 plus air yards versus too high. The Jets came out of their bye week and they played a season high 60% too high safety coverage in week 13. So we're going to see a bunch of too high this week for sure. So be prepared for that. All right. I just wanted to let you guys know I saw that and found that stat very, very interesting. So again, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the show and the channel. Go over to betus.com right now. Use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Get your first 3 deposits matched by 150% up to $2,000, 24/7 customer service. Some of the quickest payouts in the industry. Shout out to BetUS for supporting the channel and the show. Shout out to everyone who donated and showed love today. Sean Seipler, Hallie D. Barry, appreciate you guys, and showed love to all of you guys in the chat for coming through. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'll be live on Sunday for the Jets game, and then we'll have a post-game show. Let's hope we are celebrating, because that post-game show is going to be ugly and wild if we lose. Fins up all day, every day, and I'll see you on the next one. Love all y'all. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.